So welcome everybody to the first meaningful Monday of 2020. So happy New Year. I can't actually believe it's 2020. It's like, I remember going to a presentation a few years ago and they're talking about Vision 2020. I thought, oh gee, that's so far away, 2020. Wow, what a number. And here we are in 2020. So being the first Monday of this new decade is an interesting one for Meaningful Monday, because I thought to myself, what would be appropriate for the first Monday of the year? And it was going to be something along the lines of what people generally set themselves up for, like, do New Year's resolutions really work? Don't they work? Something about goals. And I thought, you know what? The best thing I could do for everybody is actually talk about the root cause of everything, the root cause of all success, the root cause of all failure, all health, all illness, all happiness, all unhappiness, comes down to one thing. And the book, As a Man Thinketh, is the encapsulation of the best, in my view, the best material in personal development on the planet. And they reckon, as a statistic, I think it's in this presentation even, yeah, that 99% of all personal development books, all 99%, have the foundation from As a Man Thinketh. So that's how profound this piece of work is. And it's the shortest book I've ever read. It's like, takes 45 minutes to read, and I read slowly. So if you're a fast reader, it'll probably take you under 40 minutes. So I'm going to talk about the top of the waves of As a Man Thinketh tonight, just what I call 7 key lessons out of this book. Now, even though this book is so short, I can absolutely promise you that you could read this book for the rest of your life, over and over again, and you would never really stop learning from this book. It is that deep. So it's not that it's so expansive with so much information that never ends. It's that it's so deep, and to get a thorough understanding of it it's a lifelong learning journey. From our own personal experience, I can tell you, I can learn from As a Man Thinketh from a paragraph. Every time I've reread the book, it's a really short book, I've learned something from any particular paragraph, let alone the whole book. So I hope you'll get a lot of value out of it tonight. I know that a lot of you that are on here have done a previous mastermind with me, so I'm going to refer to you as VIPs because you've done a mastermind before, and of course you'll always get some really special offer if you repeat a mastermind with me. If you've never done a mastermind with me, then this is an opportunity for you to understand what kind of content we delve into, or what kind of content we choose as a personal development mastermind, and why we would use something like this in a mastermind is it's a longitudinal process. It doesn't happen like a 2-day course or a 5-hour course and you're done. We come in and week out, which means you're continuously dipping in and out of the content. And this is the only way that a person can slowly, through osmosis, kind of integrate new knowledge so that it actually translates into changed behavior. Because knowledge doesn't change anything in your life unless you apply it. So when you do a mastermind and you dip in and out, week in and week out, and those of you that have done a mastermind, you'll know you have changed somewhat. You haven't changed completely on every single chapter and every single thing you've learned. It's not possible for anyone. No one changes like that. Really, no one can. I don't know anyone who can do that. We change bit by bit. It's a process. I love the word process because that's exactly what it is. So you slowly evolve, And with content like As a Man Thinketh, which is all about thoughts, and they are the source of everything in our life, you do need to have a longitudinal process so that you can incrementally apply something new, and over time change. And that's why I say this is one book, same as Think and Grow Rich or any one of John Maxwell's leadership books. You could really reread those books over and over and over again and never stop improving your life. Never. It's a infinite, truly infinite opportunity for growth. All right. So let's begin with As a Man Thinketh and get into these 7 key lessons out of the book. So the first thing is just to reiterate, It is what I call the book on growth mindset. And it was written and published in 1903. For me, that's quite astounding that so much personal development has been produced and published specifically in the last 50 years and enormously in the last 20 to 30 years. And all of that new and fresh content has most of its foundation from this book, As a Man Thinketh. You'll see. I mean, I love the book Think and Grow Rich. Many of you that are on here tonight have actually done it as a mastermind with me. I'm sure you've loved the book too. It's a fantastic book, Think and Grow Rich. But when you get into As a Man Thinketh, you'll see how much Napoleon Hill actually used of James Allen's work in Think and Grow Rich as well. So it just really is what I call the book on growth mindset. And the thing about the way this book is written, the English, from being a bit, old English, 1903, it's so eloquent. The word that comes to mind is, it's almost like elegant poetry, As a Man Thinketh. I just cannot express how much I love this book. And I just want to quickly look, where is a copy? I took it out here. Just hold on a second. Okay, so it's such a thin little tiny book. If I show it to you this way, you can see it's literally just a couple of pages, the book in total. But it packs more power than anything. It's 25 pages. It packs more power than anything I've ever read myself in my life. So I'm going to be sharing 7 lessons. This absolutely doesn't cover the whole book. Please don't think that this is what the book summary is. It's not. It's really just some key lessons out of it. There are literally thousands, not hundreds, thousands of things that you can learn and turn inside out of this book. And the more you discuss it with people and the more you talk about and tear it apart, the deeper you actually go in the learning of this material. All right, so the first one is, your mind is like a garden. Many of you may have heard this before. Other authors have written this before. If anyone's written about your mind being like a garden, cultivated, look after, it comes from James Allen. So here's the original content from the book that I've put here as a quote. It says, a man's mind may be likened to a garden which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. We could actually take this one quote without exaggeration and talk about it for an hour, because even the word, if no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useful weed seeds. He doesn't say if there are no useful seeds going into this garden, you'll just have useless seeds. He uses the word abundance. He doesn't use abundance with useful seeds. He only uses abundance with useless seeds. This is really important because it's absolutely true. If you don't actually intentionally fill your mind with positive thoughts, you'll automatically have a negative mindset. And it won't just be a little bit of a negative mindset. Without intentionality, it will grow more and more negative. So as a statistic, this comes from neuroscience, they say about 80 to 86% of all our thoughts on average are negative. That's an incredibly high percentage. And this is exactly what it's saying here. If no useful seeds are put into it. So the word I want to put into this context here for you is the word displacement. So you know this if you did science at school. If I took this glass of water and I took something like this and I put it in the water level will rise. And if I kept putting more things in it, the water level will eventually rise and overflow. And that's what we call displacement. Like getting to the very full bath, if you sit in it, the bath will overflow. The mind is exactly the same. You can't actually expect it to be automatic that you'll have positive thoughts, or what he calls intelligently cultivated useful seeds, because seeds are going to germinate and bear fruit. So So if you have positive seeds, you're going to have positive fruit coming from your mind, your habits, your behaviors, your actions, your results, your life. So we don't automatically have positive ones going in. We have to be very intelligent about what we're putting in there, very intentional. And the word cultivate, if you think about cultivating a garden, it's a lot of work. You cannot get a beautiful, beautiful garden. Imagine the best garden you've ever seen with beautiful flower beds and, you know, different varieties of plants in there, a very neat cut lawn with very clear trimmings around flower beds. If you think of that, how much work it takes to maintain that garden, all you have to do is go on holiday for a month in summer that has enough rain and come back, and what does the garden look like? It's a flippin' mess. The grass is knee-high. There's stuff growing between all the flowers. There's nothing manicured. It doesn't look kept anymore. This is really and truly how the mind is. It's exactly the same. So when we say intelligently cultivated, it means if you're not doing something deliberately and intentionally to cultivate the right mind and therefore mindset, then you're leaving it up to chance as to what you're going to create in your life, and you'll probably be disappointed over the longer term if you just leave it, because as I said, most of our thoughts are negative, and negative thoughts cannot give you positive outcomes. They'll actually start making you a negative chronic thinker over time. You'll be more doubtful about things. You'll have more fear in your life. You'll become a warrior, as in worrying about things more than the average person, unless, as he says, intelligently cultivated. You've got to be very disciplined. And when you say intelligently, it means that you are discerning in what you choose to cultivate and put into your mind. Now, look how much I've tried to explain this one quote, and we could really talk about it even longer than this, but I'm not going to stay on this one for too long. But it really does, it expresses the essence of our whole life in this one paragraph, because it's absolutely true. An abundance of useful weed seeds are going to start just going crazy. That's why we call it the monkey mind. That's why anybody who meditates knows the absolute challenge with meditation. I've been meditating every day, not for a few weeks or a few months, for years. I'm talking years, every single day of my life, and I still to this day struggle to manage my monkey mind. Ben, you meditate a lot. Do you find the same?
Yes, I do.
Right. So this is just an example, and there's others of you who are on here who meditate, you will know. So this thing about an abundance of useless weed seeds is just for me to raise an awareness with you that this is our default setting. For whatever reason, I don't know. That's how the mind is. And unless it's very, very well trained from a very young age and highly disciplined, it's going to automatically, unfortunately, produce these weed seeds. So what I really love about As a Man Thinketh as a book is the awareness you're going to get from reading information or a paragraph like this and dissecting it and discussing it in absolute depth will slowly but surely change you in being highly, highly aware, more aware than you've ever been as to what are you thinking. Because did you know that the majority of our thoughts, they reckon more than 80%, go undetected by the conscious mind? Just think of that, undetected by the conscious mind. So it's only with an extremely high awareness that we can start to say, hey, that's a negative thought. I'm doubting myself. That's a thought of fear. That's a thought of worry. You know, they say that 90% of what we worry about never actually happens. So we have to really, really stem this habitual behavior of the mind going in negative patterns to incrementally shift. Let's say it's 80 to 86% of negative thoughts, bit by bit by bit, to getting more beautiful, positive, and kind thoughts. And that absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, will change your life. If you could just even spend like 5 days in a meditation class from morning to night, for example, or practice thinking a positive thought as just one idea to think about as a meditation, you would find that good things in your life would manifest for a couple of weeks after doing that. That's how powerful the mind is. So we really do create our own reality with our thoughts, because our thoughts create our feelings. So this that I'm sharing here with you is really the source of everything in our life. So everything does begin and end with our thoughts. So if you think about your life right now, wherever you are in your life, it could be in a very good place, fantastic. It could be in a more difficult place, which is fantastic that you're here listening to this, because this is the beginning of really opening a much larger awareness on how to create your own reality. There are many other tools, but the awareness is where it begins. So wherever you are in your life, it really is because of our thoughts. That's it. We are where we are in our life because of our thoughts. And we own that place. We own that mind. We can control our thoughts. I'm not saying we do control them. I'm saying it's possible to control them. We can say, think of a yellow banana, and you can think of a yellow banana. And when a whole day goes by and you have 70,000 thoughts and 80% or more of them are negative, the point is you can control them and make them more positive, but it does take discipline. So I'm just going to, this quote of Bill Gates, I absolutely love. He says, if you were born poor, it's not your fault. But if you die poor, it is your fault. And why I like that is it's not about being rich or poor money-wise. It could be rich or poor in your spiritual life. It could be rich or poor in your relationships. It can be rich or poor in your physical health. It just doesn't matter which context it's in, but it's true. You can be born deficit, but if you die that way, it's really your own fault, because we can control what we think. So when it comes to useful seeds, what it means to me it means 3 things. One is you've got to be constantly learning, because remember when I used the glass and said the only way to change your negative thoughts in your mind is through displacement. You've got to keep injecting intentional thoughts into the mind that you actually over time displace the unwanted, what we call weed seeds. The other one is by taking action. So when you think about taking action, it goes like this. We first think about what action we're going to take, generally speaking. So maybe there's an element of planning there. Maybe there's an element of prioritizing in there. And then when we actually act out or take action, we're reinforcing through a manifestation in the physical world a thought that we've held in our mind through the planning and let's say the prioritizing stage. So useful seeds goes all the way through into our action. Now, many of us know we all at some point struggle with procrastination. That's a part of not taking action, or the action we're taking is procrastinating. With more and more awareness as to what we're doing in our behaviors and knowing that it starts with a thought and how to be thinking better, we can literally change our lives bit by bit with this discipline of managing the thoughts we think with such discernment that, you know, there's a saying that says you cannot afford even one negative thought. Now, look, we have many more than that. But if you could think about that as an ideal, to not allow yourself consciously to have one negative thought, can you imagine how different your life could be or how much your life could change? So one thing that's also very beneficial besides planning and prioritizing and taking action is to reflect on what's happened. We've discussed this in the Leadership Mastermind, for those of you who've done it, planning and reflecting. When we reflect, we are thinking again. Now, how do you reflect? Do you reflect by saying, oh, damn, I'm such an idiot and I should have done this and never did it right, cancel? Or do you say, well, that wasn't a good choice, but in future, I'm going to improve by doing it this way, and making a note or a mental note and actually deciding that you're going to improve through reflection and take a different behavior. How could I have done things better? I had an argument with someone. How could I have behaved differently? How could I have controlled my emotions? Could I have walked away and taken 5 deep breaths, whatever it may be? But reflection evaluates your experience that you have. And that's what I talk about when I say thinking better. You can think better through reflection. And you can also just think better in general from originating thoughts. Okay, whoops. So the next one is the body, meaning your physical body, your health. Your body is a servant of the mind. Wow. So here's this quote. When he says it, he means the body obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. At the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Now, in the chapter, in As a Man Thinketh, there's a whole chapter on health and the body. And when you read it and go into that, in the depth that James Allen goes in, you realize it's absolutely true. Health and illness and disease really do originate from the mind. Now, some people say, well, what does that mean for children who are born sick or children who are born, unwell? Well, the children, when they're in the womb of the mother, are part of the mother's energy, and the mother's energy is determined by her thoughts. So if the mother's a high chronic negative thinker and a very worrying, anxious person, that translates into the child, so they may be born with a condition. But as the person goes on in life, you do choose your thoughts. I don't know, maybe Ben, you'll know, I think it was Roosevelt who was born so ill as a sickly child. Was it him? It was one of the American state presidents. And then through his thought, he made himself strong. He was like a very scrawny, very weak, sickly person when he was a child. And he decided that he wanted to become a strong and healthy person. And he literally changed his entire body and his physique through thought alone. Another radical example is a man like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you saw the guy when he was a young guy, and in his mind, he saw this image of this massive, huge, strong, man that he was going to become, and it's thought got him there. So it's exactly the same when I say, what's the difference between successful and unsuccessful people? It's the same thing. It comes down to the mind. So whatever we do, even when this thing talks about it obeys the operations of the mind, it includes the actions that you take, the behaviors that you take, the way that you do work, the way that you look after your health, the way that you exercise or don't exercise, how you eat. Do you eat healthy? Do you eat really badly? Do you have some bad habits? Whatever it is, it all begins and ends with a thought. So here's an example. Let's call the big guy on the left there Jim, and let's call the nice and healthy one on the right there Joe. So a guy like Joe, who probably exercises and feels really fit and energetic, he probably thinks to himself something along the lines, exercise is not easy. There's nothing easy about exercising. Any one of you can say, they love it and you do it all the time, but you'll be honest with yourself, it's not easy to exercise. It does take discipline and it takes effort. So Joe on the right there, one of the red jumper on, he's probably saying, it's hard to push myself to exercise every day, but it makes me happy. It fills me with energy. The long-term payoff is worth it. I love eating healthy food. Because I value my body, I value my health, I value my energy levels. The more I exercise, the better I sleep. The more I can cope with the stresses of the day. So all those kind of positive thoughts, he may not even be aware of them. They are going through his mind, and that's why he stays on track. Whereas the other guy on the left there, Jim, he probably thinks, I can't be bothered to exercise today. So you know what? I won't. I didn't do it yesterday. A bit of fast food is not going to hurt me. I've tried exercising. It hasn't really helped me. I've tried eating healthy, maybe for a week or two, hasn't really made any difference. So the two conditions of these two guys is really all to do with how they think. People who are couch potatoes are no different to people who are very fit and very healthy and in very good shape. And when I say fit, you don't have to be doing cardio. You can be doing yoga. You can be doing Pilates. You can be doing Tai Chi, gentle things, but you can be in good physical shape. It all comes down to what we think. So valuing your health and body starts with a thought. So does thinking, I've tried before and it never made a difference, or it's too hard, thoughts like that. So there's this saying that they have in many gyms that says it's motivation that gets you started, but it's habits that keep you going. So I want to just talk about habits for a second, because the guy who's in red there, who's looking after himself and is regularly disciplined, he's developed habits. If he's like always fit and healthy, like years on end, he's not just like for 2 or 3 months and then falls off. He's developed habits. So when I talk again about displacement, you've got to displace the negative thoughts. Nothing's going to help me. I'm sick. I'm unwell anyway. What difference will it make? You've got to displace those thoughts. How are you going to do it? I'm going to use the word onslaught. With an onslaught of different thoughts. To get a different habit, you have to perpetually fill the mind with different thoughts. And it's not easy. This that I'm talking about may sound like so simple. It's not easy. There's a saying that says, the hardest work of man is thinking. Like really controlling your thinking, not thinking negative thoughts, or in this case, lazy thoughts or sick thoughts or couldn't be bothered thoughts, or, doesn't really work, whatever those negative thoughts are. If you have to change that, that's habitual thinking, and you have to change it to a mindset like the guy in the red who says, yep, it's not easy, but it makes me feel good. I like having more energy. I like having my body feeling fit and healthy. I don't have as much pain. I'm more flexible, whatever it may be. That has to come with creating a new habit. And creating a new habit, as we know, maybe you don't know, habits are in the subconscious mind. Subconscious. If you're making notes, habits and beliefs that you hold are not conscious thoughts. They are in the subconscious mind. So that means sub, below, conscious, meaning awareness. This is below your awareness. How you think that is creating the physical body that you have. So if you could be healthier, please believe me when I tell you there is enough science to prove that it all originates from your thoughts. And we can change our bodies and change our health through, of course, visualization, but it's the thought that you're going to go and visualize, or the thought that you are going to work on yourself to create a healthier body. It all starts with that thought. All right, lesson 3. Thought solidifies into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. So a particular train of thought persisted in, be it good or bad, cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. The character of man, the character is who you are as a person. Just the person that you are, everything about you, how you do everything in your life, keeping promises, breaking promises, being on time, being late, doing what you need to do when you want to be successful, not doing what you want to do, preparing properly for something that's important, or just winging it. Everything about you is character. That's your character. So when you look at a person who may be someone that you admire, let's say they're highly successful in whatever area appeals to you, you think, wow, I wish I was like them. You can be like them. That person has worked hard enough on developing that character that gets them where they want to be because of a particular train of thought that they have just been so determined and persisted in. It's who they've become. So that's character. And then, of course, circumstance, because our thoughts do create our reality. So a man, here it says, a man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts, and so indirectly, yet surely, shape his circumstances. That is really important to know. They say life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you respond to it. Some people say it's 1% what happens to you and 99% how you respond to it. Whatever is the ratio there, it's around 90%. The fact is that, yes, things do happen in life, but they don't make us. We make us. So a catastrophe is just what it is. It's a catastrophe if it's viewed as a catastrophe. You could view some things in a different light. And I'm talking about absolutely everything. I have to give you this quick example, and forgive me if I don't communicate this well enough, but I'll try my best. These fires in Australia have been a tragedy beyond speech. They've been a disaster without being able to express them strong enough. For me, it's nothing more than absolute heartbreaking tragedy what's going on with the fires. Now, that is a circumstance outside of my control and your control. It's just, you know, everywhere. And the loss of life is just unbelievable. Animals, nature, human beings as well. So when you think of that and say, well, you know, how can you say that you can view this differently as a catastrophe or not a catastrophe? It's a terrible catastrophe, there's no doubt. However, with a different perspective in life, or a different perception of the situation, and this is just me, and I hope I communicate this properly, sometimes things have to endure and be so prolonged that the tragedy affects people strongly enough to force them to change somehow, some way. And if the fire broke out and was remedied within 2 days, people may not have changed. But because it's been so prolonged and so catastrophic and so devastating, and the people are very badly affected, and many people have lost their lives, everyone that is still here and a witness to this, somehow, some way, has been changed by it. Now, if you're very close to the situation, you will be very much changed by it. If you're more distance, maybe less. But do you know the stories that are coming out of how people have opened their hearts? I mean, even myself, driving around, Ben, you and your wife and your kids did it as well, dropping off goods and supplies to the rural fire service stations where they have collection points. Many of you have done it. I don't know who all, but some of you may have donated money. You know, you may have donated clothing or whatever it may be, things. People have changed. They've opened their hearts. There's a lady who has got a 2-bedroom place in one of the areas. She opened her house to 35 strangers to let them just sleep in a place under a roof for a couple of nights. Now, that is a life-changing event, and that's got an enormous positive result. So there will come a time where the fires will eventually be over and years will have passed. This will be something behind us, like we spoke about the fires in 1996 or whatever it is. But people will have changed, bro. So everything is always for our highest good. The death of my brother is a perfect example. Tragedy. But in hindsight, it was for my higher good. It changed my life, and it changed in a positive way. So I just want to say that, because life is not about just the circumstance, it's how we respond to it. So you can become bitter and twisted, or you can become highly grateful, open your heart, change, whatever it may be. That is a choice each and every person makes. That's why the same thing can happen to 2 people, like retrenchment. The one can become better as a result of it. The other one can end up drinking and sitting on the couch all day and landing up on the dole and, you know, eventually living on the street because he got made redundant. Someone else will hit the pavement every day or look for jobs and learn new skills and go through some tough times. But through all of that, they become stronger. So just the point, we can't choose our circumstances, but we can choose our thoughts about our circumstances. So I want to make that point. So everything about habits is about thought solidifies into habit, and habit solidifies into circumstance. So think about your life. What habits, good or bad, do you have? I mean, I think about myself. I've got a lot of bad habits. I really want to change a lot of bad habits. They're not easy because they're in the subconscious mind, but with intention, we can change them. So an example here of creating good habits. One good habit is just having a morning routine. I'm not saying this is the best morning routine that I'm putting here. I'm just giving an example of a morning routine. But having a morning routine is really a good habit to cultivate. So maybe wake up in the morning, write affirmations, just one foolscap page. I'm so happy and grateful now that, and write a few things, whatever it is. If it's money that you want to grow and create more abundance and prosperity, you could say, I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. Create an affirmation like that, repeat it every day. Or I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm feeling energetic and in good health. Or I'm feeling fitter every day. Or I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm improving my relationship with whoever the person is. Or I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm becoming a better and better public speaker, if that's what you want to become. So just making these affirmations is putting these good seeds in your mind, and fruits will come after they germinate and grow. So the thing about habits is there are long-term benefits with habits. Habits they take a lot of discipline and effort to create good habits, but the long-term benefits way outweigh the effort over the long term. They really do. They just make your life more and more rewarding. There's a saying that says, if you do what's hard, your life will be easy. But if you do what's easy, your life will be hard. So if you want to be lazy and have no effort, your life will be hard. Those who apply effort, you can see their lives are easier. So it's true. Then overcoming bad habits, well, that's our work. And As a Man Thinketh is really a book to help any person understand this at a very deep level and give you all the clues and answers and techniques on how you can overcome bad habits and change them into good ones. Just an example of long-term benefits. If I think about one habit that I have is meditating every single morning of my life. And the long-term benefits are I'm calmer than I used to be. I used to have a very fiery temper when I was a kid. I used to even want to punch my brother and bash him over the head or whatever it is. So calmness. I'm not saying I'm the calmest person on earth, but I'm calmer than I was. And in stressful situations, I actually can remain quite calm. Having more focus, having more energy, having a stronger immune system, being able to sit and focus my energy on something to do at work without being distracted. That comes from daily meditation, preventing the mind from jumping all over the place. We know it lowers blood pressure, cholesterol, stabilizes blood sugar. Even my positivity, my optimism is improved through meditation. Being able to be creative, being able to be intuitive. If I don't meditate, I find I'm more stressed and I don't have intuition. The more I meditate, the more intuitive I become. The more good ideas just pop into my head about things I could do. Even spiritually, I feel a growth and an enhancement there. So look, there's so many benefits to meditation, but that's what I'm talking about. Over the long term, you slowly but surely become a person with all those characteristics, and eventually becomes you, and your life becomes the fruits of the character of who you are. So if those were all seeds and they bear fruit, that's what the result will be. So when I look at bad habits in my own life, I don't beat myself up anymore about it. I just say to myself, Janine, here's an opportunity for you to grow. And I love you to see it that way too. Bad habits are an opportunity for you to grow, and look at it as a good and exciting journey. Not as burden, I've got such bad habits, how am I ever going to overcome these? No matter what they are. So as a progressive and evolving being, you are where you are so that you may learn, that you may grow. So everything in your life is a teacher. Always give you an opportunity to grow. The next one is your soul attracts that which you secretly harbor, that which you love, also that which you fear. Your soul attracts it. Well, it's true, because whatever you fear or you love or you hate puts you in a certain vibration. And we know the law of vibration or the law of attraction. You will attract a vibrational match to that you're feeling. So if you think about someone who worries about something that's not true and doesn't stop, they will manifest that very thing. How many people do you know who falsely accuse their partner of having an affair, and their partner will eventually have an affair? Because you kind of create that. Or redundancy. People who are made redundant at a deep subconscious level, they either didn't like where they were working, but never made an effort to leave, or they were afraid of being made redundant, so the fear created it. But somehow, some way, they attracted that into their life. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. Most of the time it really is. But when it happens, you can't see it that way. But the point is, we do attract into our life everything of that sort. The other one is your outer world of circumstance shapes itself to your inner world of thought. I know in my own life, when I have worrying thoughts, I create more and more circumstances to worry about. And when I am intentional about not allowing those thoughts, cancel, override with a positive affirmation, practice daily, write affirmations, and really train my mind to stay disciplined on positive thinking, things shift, things get better. The more positive I intentionally try to be and then am, luck finds me, better things happen, things work out. So it really is true. Okay, lesson 4. Aimlessness is a vice. So a vice. You know, just some words that are a synonym for vice. I just don't want to put them out here. I know you know what it means, but just think of these. This is from Thesaurus. Corruption, debasement, decay, evil, rot, wickedness. Aimlessness is a vice. Really and truly, without purpose, we rot. We really do. We just absolutely decay. So purpose, when I've always said, the most important goal you can have in your life is to find your life purpose. And if you don't know what it is, that's okay. Guess for now, but have a purpose. Even if you're guessing, you're not 100% sure, you're crafting it, maybe it's going to evolve over time. But what is the purpose of my life has to be a question that you continuously ask until you come to an answer that's right for you. There's a saying that says, it's in the Bible, it says, without vision, the people perish. Without vision, the people perish. It may not necessarily mean that they die, it may mean it, but it may not. It may just mean that you live lost, without a purpose, without vision, without goals in your life. You're living lost. It's a vice. You will rot there. There's another saying that says, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. Idle mind is the devil's workshop. If we're not creating something constructive with a purpose in our life, our mind is going to just get filled and filled with negative thoughts, bad news, bad stories. Every time you open your mouth and speak to someone, guaranteed it will be bad news, because you are not doing anything intentional about planting seeds of positivity, seeds of purpose, regardless of the circumstances around you. So for me, when this hit me, the purpose of my life, it was after my brother passed away, and I went to South Africa for his funeral, and I spent a few weeks there with family. And when I came back, I sat at my desk in my corporate job, and I opened my calendar after being away from work for about 3 to 4 weeks. And it was absolutely full of appointments. And I looked at all these appointments, and I said to myself, is this really my agenda? Is this my life agenda? It's okay if it is, but for me, I said to myself that this is not my agenda. But then I said to myself, so what do I want my agenda to be if I could choose? And I didn't know. But that tragic circumstance of losing my brother changed my values, just like that. My values changed. And I just knew that I wanted something different. And it wasn't that I was doing. But that question, what is the purpose of my life? My brother was here, then he's gone. This could happen to me. I could die tomorrow. We never know how long we're going to be here. And I said to myself, what's my life really about? And if I did die tomorrow, would it have meant anything? Would it have counted? Would it make any difference? I promise you, life would go on, the office would operate, and I would, just be like a person on leave. It doesn't really change anything. And I thought, no. So for me, that was my massive epiphany. I'm not saying that has to be yours, but the question I got reactively from losing my brother, if you don't know your life purpose, you can do this proactively and ask yourself the question, what is the purpose of my life? And get that as early as you can. And it doesn't happen overnight if you don't know it. It takes time, but it is the most valuable question to ask. So in the book, As a Man Thinketh, this is the quote from the book: until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. That is so true. Until thought is linked with purpose. Some people wake up, shower, go to work, come home, go to bed, or eat, go to bed, wake up and do it all over again. Day in and day out. What I call a mouse in a corporate wheel. I'm not saying that's you, but there are many people living like that. The statistics are alarming on how many people live like that, unhappy, but don't change anything. In that circumstance, if you have friends or people in your life, bring this up in conversation with them and tell them, think about your life. You're just like a mouse in a wheel. If you're unhappy, every time I see you unhappy about where you're working, get to the question of what is the purpose for your life? Find that answer and come hell or high water, do that thing. Life is short. Do what it is that you want to do. You all know that I wrote the book, Living in the Flow, which is a guide to discovering your purpose. So what I want to share is, what I wanted to highlight in this book is we need to think bigger about our own lives. We need to think about why we are here, and we need to think about what value we have to contribute, because the truth is every single one of you has not just value, immense value. You really do. You have so much value. You've just got to be sure that when you're looking and reflecting on your life, you are in the best place to export that value into the world and share it with the world. The world needs your value. When people don't know what their life purpose is, they can't export that value because there's lack of passion. Passion is linked to your purpose. In your passion, they say, lies your God-given purpose. So until we live a life of purpose, we cannot really export that value. And if you don't know where to find it, this is what I say. My tip for anyone is explore, experiment, try new things, continue with personal growth. That is how I found my life purpose. It was through personal growth, continuous studying with the John Maxwell team. And that's where it opened something for me. I thought, wow, here's a passion of mine. And from then I was convinced somehow, some way, this is my passion, and I knew. So you'll find that fulfilled people tend to have a clearer purpose. Unfulfilled people tend to not have such a clear purpose. Okay, lesson 5. None but himself can alter his condition. A strong man cannot help a weaker unless the weaker is willing to be helped. And even then, the weak man must become strong of himself. He must, by his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in another. None but himself can alter his condition. Boy, this was something I had to learn in my life, because the thought of people living with solvable problems used to drive me nuts. I would want to recite the Silver Method to them, recite a book I loved about personal development, try to just, like a record that's stuck on repeat, trying to tell somebody something to help change them or help them in some way. I see problems that I could solve if I was in their shoes. I just want to help them. But the truth is you can't. People can only really help themselves. I mean, I can list all the benefits in the world about the Silver Method or any personal development book to, let's just call him Joe. If Joe isn't ready or he isn't willing, I can do nothing to change him. And we need to know that. So the best way to actually teach people is through our own example. Just focus on yourself and getting yourself and your life in the best place. You will become the greatest teacher through that. But we can't really change other people. Even when I teach the Silver Method, I don't change anybody. I facilitate the change in themselves. I just create an environment for them to create their own change in their own life. That's the same with coaching. I don't change anyone's life. They change their own life. I just facilitate the process. Then gifts are fruits of effort, not luck. Definitely, we spoke about this earlier. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. It's true. Studying for 5 years to get a degree, or 7 years for some people, whatever it may be, it's not fun. But when you get that degree, yeah, it's sweet. And you have fruits after that. You get more doors open, more opportunities. So it does come from effort. The best view comes after the hardest climb. So true. So how do you become an overnight success? Well, I love this one. Ray Kroc is the man who bought the rights of McDonald's off the McDonald's brothers, and he was the one who made McDonald's a worldwide success. He says, I was an overnight success, all right, but 30 years is a long, long night. So it's true. It's got to be consistency, and consistency comes with training yourself to think differently, think better thoughts every single day. Better and better over your lifetime. That's really how we improve our lives. Not just a quick month course here, and it's continuously through your life. And that's when they say it takes a whole life to become an overnight success. The last lesson I'm going to share with you quickly is this number 7. I love this. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. This comes from As a Man Thinketh. Calmness of mind. It's so true. Strong, calm people are always loved and always revered. Self-control, and I'm talking about emotional self-control, is a competency. People who can't control their emotions get very upset when things go wrong, overly happy when things go right, swing along this emotional pendulum. Their lives are always up and down. It's almost like full of drama. Self-control is really a competency, and we can learn, we can develop it. It's like a skill. So it says here, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. Isn't it interesting? A more than ordinary knowledge of the laws of thought and operations of thought. The laws of thought, knowing that it's a law. If you think negative, you get negative. If you think positive, you get positive. It's a law. So, love that quote. So it's true. Calm people, like controlling your temper, controlling your emotions, not having emotional outbursts, not reacting to drama, not being offended by what you think is offensive. Like, whatever it may be, if we are offended, it's really a choice. People say, oh, no, but that person did that or said that. No, no, no. It's still a choice. And a good question to always think about is, if there was a crisis going on right now, would you rather run and be consoled by an extraordinarily calm and centered person? Or would you run to a person who's freaking out and shouting claims of doom and gloom? So if you think about that scenario, you can see the power and attractiveness of calmness. All right, so that's it. Let's just summarize these 7 key lessons. The first is your mind is like a garden. You know, you cultivate it with seeds, different seeds. Intentional positive seeds, or they automatically grow in abundance, negative ones. The body is the servant of the mind. The other one is thought crystallizes into habit, and habit into circumstance. Aimlessness is a vice, and none but himself can alter his condition. Gifts are the fruit of effort, not luck. And calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. That's a summary there. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. What did you think? Did anybody enjoy this?
It was fabulous.
Yes, loved it.
It was good, eh? I absolutely love this book. I have to tell you, we took a few paragraphs here and there, but you can see the depth of it is so rich. It's just a rich and deep book. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. There's a couple of things to think about. I'm sure that just from tonight's Meaningful Monday, what I'm hoping is that you'll just be more aware of every thought you think, and try with effort, to be intentional about thinking positive thoughts. The hardest work of man is thinking. Do it. The worst thing is to be a lazy thinker. The best thing is to be a thinker, a disciplined thinker, an intentional thinker. It can change your life. Okay, so there's a mastermind coming up on As a Man Thinker. I just want to give you the details. I just want to share this quick quote here. All that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. Somewhere else it's written in these words, all that a man achieves and all that befalls a person, almost like all bad luck that befalls a person is a direct result of his own thought. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's really about taking responsibility. We have no choice but to take serious responsibility when we want a better life, to say, yep, unfortunately, it is on our own shoulders. But fortunately, it is on our own shoulders as well, because we can change our thoughts. So it's not, unfortunately, that we are in charge of our life circumstances. It's fortunately. Why? Because we can do something about it. Forget the past. It doesn't matter how good or bad your life has been in the past. If it's been bad, forget about that. You can really change your life with this awareness starting today, whatever it may be for you. So the mastermind will be a 6-week mastermind. The book As a Man Thinketh. What will be given in this is a study guide. This is it that I'm holding up here. So it's quite a thick book of 80 pages. A lot of them are open for reflection, but others of them are full of text like this, which is actually the text out of the book. And so all our books are exactly the same, and we know which page they're on and what line number they are. And then there's an enormous amount of additional content in this mastermind that is not from As a Man Thinketh. It's supplementary to the book. One of the examples that I gave, let me just pick up the picture here, is something called the 7 levels of character, which is this, and we study this in conjunction with As a Man Thinketh and our own personal goals, and we just kind of interlace what we want in our lives, areas we want to improve, with all this information, all this knowledge and supplementary content to really start literally changing our lives for the better, and from a very deep place that's permanent. If you can get to the root cause, you're made.